All right, y'all, so we are back in the car again, imagine that, in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Again, my name's Bob Brennaman, I'm a realtor, and we're heading off Whipple Road into the first neighborhood you turn off on Long Pointe, which is Glenlake. Glenlake is a subdivision of about 107 homes. Again, located off Whipple Road. We're probably 10 minutes or so to downtown Charleston, so a really good location. Most of the homes back here you can see, are a little bit older. They were built in the 1990s, mainly early 1990s. Some of them finished up in the late 1990s. And square footage, for the most part, are 1,500 to maybe 2,500 square feet. The thing that I think that's popular about this neighborhood for people is, again, its location to the beaches, to Charleston. There's a lot of shopping and restaurants around where we are right now. And even though it doesn't have an amenity center, it's within walking distance to the Mount Pleasant Tennis Center, soccer fields, and a play park. So you've got some stuff that you can walk to right out of here, as well as being able to access a lot of the things that people live in Mount Pleasant for. Good school districts abound in Mount Pleasant. Again, Glenlake, located off Whipple Road. Home prices generally back here in the 3s to low 400s. Just depends on the finish levels. I mean, a lot of these have been updated. The ones that are not updated tend to be the less expensive ones. Continuing along Whipple Road, now we're heading into Landings Run. And Landings Run, very similar to the last neighborhood we were in. Homes back here, about 62 of them. And they were mainly built in the mid-80s into the early 90s. Back here in Landings Run, you're in a great location to, really to access anything in Mount Pleasant. The town center is about 5 minutes away. You can be on Isle of Palms in about 10 minutes. And downtown Charleston, depending on the time of day, is probably about a 10-minute drive from where we're riding through right now. There are no amenities in this neighborhood, but you're allowed to keep your boat out. So this would be a neighborhood, if you're not wanting overly reaching homeowners associations, this will be a place that I would consider, because it's, it's a little bit older neighborhood and smaller documentation as far as the homeowners association goes. The house sizes range anywhere from 1,400 to probably 2,400 square feet. There are a lot of single floor houses back here. So if you're wanting a master down, in Mount Pleasant, this would be a good place to consider. And again, we are in Landings Run, located in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, off of Whipple Road. So we're heading into Cooper's Pointe, and Cooper's Pointe is, again, guess what, off Whipple Road. This is an older neighborhood, dating in the mid-80s to early 90s. Houses back here, I think there's about no more than 25 houses. So it's not a very big neighborhood. I don't know that it even has a homeowners association. If it is, it would be very small, because there are no amenities back here. Some of these homes actually back up to a tidal creek. So you would have, in some cases, the ability to access, I guess, on the right tide, out of your backyard, you could kayak. So these homes, anywhere from 1,700 square feet to 3,000 square feet. And the location of this in Cooper's Pointe is just phenomenal. This is central Mount Pleasant. I mean, Whipple Road area in Mount Pleasant is very central to anything that you would want to do in Mount Pleasant. The town center's close by. Downtown Charleston is, not very far. And the airport too, if you're living here and you need to get to North Charleston and that area, Cooper's Pointe in Mount Pleasant would be a good area for you to consider. We're still on Whipple Road. We're continuing down, and we're coming into Cooper's Landing, which was originally established in 1984. And the houses back here, anywhere 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2 to 3 baths, 1,300 to probably 2,600 square feet. Cooper's Landing, there are about 79 homes. Some of them have been rehabbed over the years. Some of them, you'll probably see from this video, have not been. The price point back here is pretty good for being this close in Mount Pleasant. Again, we're 10 minutes to downtown Charleston, 10 minutes to Isle of Palms, and 5 minutes to the town center, and just lots of shopping and restaurants by us. The thing to keep in mind about this is some of these houses are, because they back up to the marsh, some of them do, you might want to be cautious on some of the flood insurance back here, because that could tend to go up with the houses being built, 84 to I think 1991. But again, no real amenities. You're within walking distance to the Mount Pleasant Tennis Center and soccer fields, and they also have a play park. If you wanted to entertain your kids, there's that, and the beach is close by. Again, we are in Cooper's Landing, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We're moving our way down Whipple Road, and we're taking a break from some of the neighborhoods to ride y'all through one of the parks and recreational complexes in Mount Pleasant, which a lot of people really are drawn to Mount Pleasant because of the rec space. Although a lot of the neighborhoods off of Whipple Road do not have amenity centers, you have, again, the town of Mount Pleasant stuff. So you've got tennis courts back here, you've got soccer fields, and this is an older complex, so if it doesn't show as well on video, I mean, the courts are in good shape. You probably can't see from the video, but this was one of the original tennis complexes in Mount Pleasant, and one that when I was in college I played quite a lot, and it was at one time the only place in Mount Pleasant to get your recycling picked up. So I used to have to bring my recycling over in my car. But again, this is right off Whipple Road, and this is free to access for the public. I mean, some of these courts you need to schedule, but a lot of them are just, you can show up and just play whenever you want to. And again, off of Whipple Road in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We are going to go into Pinckney Place, and Pinckney Place is a newer subdivision, kind of neoclassical building. It was built by a local guy. I think there's about 30 homes back here. Good finishes for the money. And it's kind of got an old Charleston look to it. It's kind of like a smaller version of probably Hibben or maybe even Ion. I mean, it doesn't have the $1 million houses that are found in Ion, but houses back here anywhere from the 5s probably to 700s. A lot of these houses were built right when the town of Mount Pleasant started to allow you to build a detached room over the garage. For years, you couldn't do that, and they changed the building ordinance, Ion being the exception. You've been able to do that the whole time, but in other places in Mount Pleasant, it had to be attached, heated and cooled breezeway or anything like that in order to do a room over the garage. So this was one of the first neighborhoods, probably in 2008 or 9, that they allowed them to start doing it. So you have, in some cases, basically two houses. You have the main house, and then you have a guest house in the back. And a lot of people use them for offices or, just an extra rec room or bedroom. But this neighborhood sits next to Snee Farm. So Snee Farm Country Club is nearby. So if you're a golfer, that's, a plus. And if you want new construction and be closer in to Mount Pleasant, this is, closer into Charleston rather, this is a great place to consider. Again, it's Pinckney Place, neoclassical style, and one of the newer neighborhoods in Mount Pleasant. And homes range in size from probably 1,300 square feet to 2,600 square feet, and it's directly across from the Mount Pleasant Tennis Center. Before we take you into Grassy Creek, we're going to ride you through a neighborhood I get a lot of emails about, which is Tidal Walk. Tidal Walk is a tract of land that's set, undeveloped for a long time, and actually had a bunch of trees back here at one time, but is being developed by D.R. Horton, which is a national builder. And, I get a lot of emails about this neighborhood, and the thing that I think is very important about Tidal Walk is its proximity to 526. I mean, you probably can't hear it on this video and probably can't see it through the trees because it's summertime, but there's a significant amount of road noise. Granted, these houses are priced in the $400,000 range, and as we ride through here, it looks like there's a lot of sold signs, and even sold signs on the ones that back up to the interstate. So again, this is Tidal Walk, nothing to see, but it's something that people are asking me a lot about. Location-wise, it's a home run, but road noise, I think, would be something you need to definitely consider if Tidal Walk ends up on the agenda. Heading into Grassy Creek, and Grassy Creek is a neighborhood off of Long Point Road, very close to 526, and it's kind of neoclassical, coastal, kind of southern living looking style houses. Many of these houses are on Rattle Creek. There's maybe one or two houses that have private docks, but there is an area that you could kayak into the creek on the right tide. These were mainly built probably since 2008, and then they really, as the economy crashed, they stopped, and then they've been building pretty steady back here. And there's not too many lots left in Grassy Creek. Home prices back here at shooting in this video, in the $450,000, $500,000 range, on up to $1 million or more, depending on where they are. And some fairly decent sized homes. 2,500 probably would be the minimum square footage, and then there's a couple back here that are pushing 4,000. I like Grassy Creek from a location standpoint, and I like the architectural style a lot. And it's one of these neighborhoods that I take people back in and they like. Again, the one thing I think you have to keep in mind when you're talking about Grassy Creek is you don't want to be on the left side of the road. So the odd numbers, like 295, 291 as we're riding through here, those are going to be really close to I-526, so you're going to pick up road noise. The rest of the neighborhood, pretty much, you're going to hear it sometimes, but it's not like it's in your backyard. So I like this neighborhood for that reason, that it's, you know, close to everything. They have a small play park back here for the kids. They have a pavilion area back here, and they have a community dock where you can, you know, fish, set a crab trap. And I know in the years that I lived in Hibben is that at least the times that I dropped a crab trap, we always filled it up. So this is a very fertile creek for blue crabs and great place to catch spot-tail bass and trout during the proper season. But again, we're in Grassy Creek, and it's one of the better neighborhoods from a location standpoint in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. All right, y'all, so we're off Whipple Road on Walkendale Boulevard heading into Candlewood. And Candlewood is a subdivision that sits right next to the Mount Pleasant tennis courts, soccer fields, and a play park. So you don't have amenities back here, but you do have the ability, as you'll see here in a second, for your boat to sit in the yard. It's not a overly hard-reaching homeowners association, so they, you know, you're able to do things back here that you probably wouldn't be able to do in other neighborhoods. 1976, I think, was the first house built back here, and then some of them were finished up in the early 2000s. Square footage range approximately, you know, 12 to probably 2,200. And this is, you know, about a 10-minute drive to downtown Charleston, and you're also about the same distance to the beach on Isle of Palms. You can get to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's in about 10 minutes. So this is a, you know, a good neighborhood to consider if you want to be close to those things. One thing to keep in mind too about Candlewood is its proximity to 526. The overpass is right here. And, you know, most of these homes are not going to be affected by that road noise because there's a little bit of a buffer between some of the houses and the road, but it's something you definitely want to keep in mind if you're looking in Candlewood. So at the very back of Candlewood is Trident Academy, and Trident Academy is a school that's been in Mount Pleasant for quite a while, I think since the early 1970s, and it's a school that helps kids with special needs. A lot of kids with a range of autistic issues go to school here, and it's very highly thought after. I think if you do some research and you have a kid that has special needs, I think Trident Academy would be a good place to consider. And again, Candlewood, which is the neighborhood that ties into this, is close to everything. And they've got a lot of recreational space back here as well.